Hello friends, welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator and the last part of the Boeing 727-200 full flight tutorial video. We are currently descending down to 7000 and on approach or an arrival path to the destination airport. Weather seems a little bit turbulent, but that's okay. We will jump into the cockpit and prepare the aircraft for approach. See you in the cockpit very shortly. Here we are in the flight deck of 727. If you remember from our last episode, we were descending down to 7000. We are about to hit that, so let's reduce our descent rate. Oh, actually we were going to hold 7000, so we don't have to. I forgot about that. So we are at 7000, we can engage the altitude hold and manage the throttles to maintain 250 knots so that we don't slow down too much. Or we can continue slowing down to get down to 220 knots, which is the speed restriction above the airport. So this might be a little bit early to do that, but you know, when recording videos I like to do things a little bit earlier, or configure the aircraft a little bit earlier to make sure I have enough time to do the rest of the things. But we are picking up the ILS, which is great, and we are probably going to our last waypoint, 5 to 6, so which means we need to sync our heading bug. Oh, well, we can't because that bug is affecting it because the INS is controlling the heading bug, but we can just disable that and heading select, and we will continue on heading, because once we are overhead the airport, which means once this needle is in the center, we should be making a left turn to heading 184. If I bring the chart again, you'll see that that's the Cardiff ADF. So once we are here, that's our last waypoint that we entered. We will turn left to 134 and continue on that course to 8 miles before we make the final turn into the airport. So at this point, that's a restriction, but ATC might clear aircraft to descend, continue descending, and we will assume that that's what was given to us, because from 7 to 2200 it might take a little bit longer than 8 miles to get down there, because that's 5000 feet. We will need roughly 15 miles to do that. So just for the sake of the video, we will assume that ATC has cleared us to 2200. We will set that to our altitude selector. We will arm the altitude again, and then we are on vertical speed, so we can increase the vertical speed to 1000 feet per minute and start descending. Not sure how that happened, but we breached 250, so I'm gonna extend some speed brakes to control the speed. This is happening because I talk too much during the videos, so let's cut the throttles and get down to 220 knots. Yeah, it's at 5 to 6. Speed is good. We will set 220 on the speed bug. We can bring the speed brakes in and keep the throttles at idle and keep descending. Alright friends, we made it to 2200. Speed is close to 220, so we are gonna adjust the throttles to get down below 220 knots, even to 200 knots to make it easier for the aircraft to turn. So I'm reducing the throttles slowly to get down to 200 knots. What we are waiting is the movement of the needle to start a turn to heading 134 for the circle to land approach. At this point you will probably get vectors from the ATC in real life, or if you are using an ATC software, but because we're not using it, we are gonna gauge it ourselves and try to find the best spot to execute the turn. And the problem with this is this needle moves very quickly once you are very close to the airport, so it's not really an indication, so it's hard to gauge it. But I am tempted to start turning, and as you see, the needle moved all of a sudden in seconds. That usually doesn't happen, but we are turning to heading 124. At this point we can extend the flaps to flaps 2 and let the aircraft bleed off some speed to make it easier to turn, but we probably are going to overshoot that turn, so let's keep turning just a little bit more to intercept 1, 2, 3, 4 for the circle to land. We are gonna let the aircraft bleed the speed off because we have another sharp turn at the end of this towards the airport, or the localizer rather. So we will maintain something around 160 knots to make it easier for aircraft to make that turn. So we are following the localizer now. It's to our left and we should be just flying like this to make it easier for the aircraft to make that turn at the end. The speed is coming down. We can go flaps 5. We are below 200 or 190 knots. Flaps 5 is now set. The speed keeps bleeding off. I'm gonna slightly feed some throttle to maintain and keep the speed around 170 at this point. We can go flaps 15 now, and we will maintain 170 knots. You need some more thrust. And the throttle response is not great, so it's sometimes slow and then all of a sudden you just get a bunch of movement on the EPR needles. These are the things I'm not really happy, especially if you are manually controlling this aircraft. We are at 6 miles, remember at 7 miles or at 8 miles DME we should execute a turn to final approach course of 2907. Alright. I'm just giving myself some more room to make that turn. The speed is now looking good. We are at flaps 15. We will maintain this until we capture the localizer. 8 miles, I think we are good to turn to 2907, our final approach course. So hopefully we will keep turning and prepare the aircraft for landing. So we will align our heading back with the head of the needle here, and we will turn on the auto glide slope mode and our flight director to the approach mode to get some guidance from the flight directors for the localizer. The aircraft should capture the localizer. The speed is bleeding off too faster than I like, so I'm gonna feed some throttle to get back to 160 knots and maintain that speed. I think it's gonna be around 1.3 EPR. We should see localizer capture any moment now. We are turning towards the airport and the aircraft should take care of it. There it goes. Localizer is now captured and we are gonna wait for the glide slope. Alright, 9 miles to the airport. Now we can 8 miles. We can go okay, we can go like this just a little bit more, but cut the throttles to get down to the approach speed and wait for glide slope capture. Alright, we can drop the landing gear now and go flaps 25. Looks like we captured the glide slope, so now we need to aim for the approach speed, reduce the throttles to somewhere like 1.2. That should bleed off some speed. And we can go and do the final stage of flaps, which is going to be flaps 30 for today's landing. Alright, localizer, glide slope captured, and we can do the landing checklist. Gear is down, flaps are selected and indicating 30. Flight directors are on, auto brakes are set to medium. Right there. Altimeters, radio altitude, everything is set. And autopilot, we will turn it off very shortly. All looking good, speed is bleeding off a little bit faster, so let's get some throttle, feed it to maintain the approach speed. That looks good. And we are on the course, descending nicely. 1500 feet on the radio altitude here. We can set the missed approach altitude of 3000 now. And all is good. Alright, maintaining and managing the throttles for the approach speed. Gonna come back on the throttles just a slight, just a little bit more, just to maintain the approach speed. Alright, looks like we can take control of the aircraft from this point on. It looks a little bit windy, but we'll see. And the sim is stuttering, I'm sorry about that. Alright, autopilot disconnected. My controls maintaining the speed and the localizer course. Looks like wind is pushing us to the right. And we are a little bit high, so we can get back on the glide slope now. Drop the nose just a tiny bit. Still too high, so correcting. And you don't want to be too high on the final, short final, because then you don't have enough time to bleed off that extra speed that you are picking up by pitching the nose down. So okay, this looks great. Minimums continue, and then we will ignore the puppies after here when you are very close, because they are not super accurate in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Cutting the throttles.
40, 30, 20, 10.
Alright, we should touch down very shortly. Alright, touchdown. Speed brakes out. Nose wheel is down. Reversers engaged. Maintaining the center line. Keeping the nose down. And manual braking. Alright. I don't know why we get a call out, but 60 knots. Reversers off. Speed brakes in. We can retract the flaps. And roll off down the center line and use the last exit to vacate the runway. Wasn't too bad. Still on final approach, the controls I feel like a little bit too touchy, and I need to get used to using the trim wheel for that part of the flight, but I am not too great at that. Anyway, it was an okay landing, I guess. We will stop here, clean the aircraft, and then get to a parking spot. Alright, we will vacate here, momentarily stop like that. Strobes are coming off, landing lights are coming off, taxi lights are on, transponder is going back to on from TARA. And we can go ahead and start our APU and look for the GSX, turn off the flight directors, look for a parking spot. Which one? We should do the ramp or the gate? Let me just take a look at the airport chart very quickly to see which parking spot is suitable for a cargo aircraft. I think we are gonna take ramp 4. Sounds good. No, we don't need a follow me. And we will do the handling British Midland, why not? Okay. Brakes off. And we can taxi to our parking position. Let's go and make sure we are on the ground for the pressurization system. Also oil coolers. Looks like the APU is online. We can close the circuit, switch the power to APU, and get back on taxiing, because yeah, this is what happens when you take your eyes off the taxiway. Alright. We are on APU power. We can go ahead and turn the bleeds on as well. And maintain the center line. I'm just trying to do too many things at once. Turn off the engine bleeds. We will taxi like this to our parking position. It's gonna be a while. I think that's after this aircraft that we see in the distance is the cargo apron. Again, once more, remember, if you want to take a look at your ground speed, switch it to the ground speed. We are doing 21 knots on the ground, so you can apply some brakes and slow it down. And get to your desired speed to control the aircraft. Ground handling of this aircraft is still not great. I have to admit that's one of the things that I will like to see some improvements. On idle, I'm not sure if in real life this aircraft can accelerate this much on idle thrust. I don't think it's realistic if you ask me, but for now it is what it is. Alright, we are coming down to the cargo apron, which is here, so we should see some ground markings for parking position 10, 9, okay. So we are looking for 4. This is 8. Slow it down. 8 right. One of these should be 4. Which one? Oh, there is it. There it is. That's 4. So let's slow down. We know where we are turning now. Turn off the taxi lights. We don't want to blind anyone. Keep turning, and hopefully we will see a marshaller guiding us. There it is. He is going to help us line the aircraft with the line. Let's see here. I'm gonna take it a little bit slow. He's asking us to go left, go left, go left, go left. Okay, okay. All right. Right. It's a little bit dangerously close to the marshaller, isn't it? Well, okay. We'll set the parking brakes and let's take a look outside to see what it looks like. Well, it's a little bit past the stopping point, looks like, but so be it. Alright, transponder can go off now. Auto brakes can go to disarm. Window heat, we should have turned these off vacating the runway. I forgot about this, so signs are off. We have APU. Let's double check that we are on APU power. Yes, we are, which means we can go ahead and shut down our engines. Number 3, 2, and 1 coming down off. Beacon light can come off now. We can bring our clipboard, set the chocks and the cones, and perhaps, yeah, we'll stay on APU. I'm not gonna connect ground power. I guess at this point we are on the ground. Let's go ahead and turn off the boost pumps. Oh, they were already off because engineers was taking care of the fuel, so that's okay to me. Pumps, we can turn one of the hydraulic pumps off. Everything here looks okay. Also here as well. We can open the cooling doors. We are on the ground now. And turn off 3/4 galley power. And we can open the cockpit door, get back there, and open our main cargo door. And finally, we can request deboarding from GSX. There we go. Alright guys, welcome to Cardiff. This was a fun tutorial series to make. The landing was not too great, but as I said, the controls are a little bit too sensitive, especially when landing. I don't know if it has anything to do with the ground effect in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but it is what it is. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial series. Please consider giving a like if you liked what you have seen, and if you are not a channel subscriber but stumbled upon this video, please consider subscribing and turning on the notifications to get notified for my future videos. Thanks for being here with me today, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.